Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's Monday night panel. Have to apologise. We were going to do an on the sofa this evening, but unfortunately, our guest Gary Alexander was unfortunately unable to make it this evening, so we'll have to rearrange that. So very glad for the panel that we've got together for tonight. So we will talk about winning on Saturday and also the FA Cup draw, which we've got people watching so they can tell us the updates on it. Firstly, some very sad news. I know it's not Swindon, but the Bristol City manager, Liam Manning, has taken a term of leave at the moment. He's lost his little boy, Theo, who was recently born. So we send all our best wishes to the Manning family and the Bristol City family from all at Swindon. Let's bring Vic on and then we can do some other news.
Yeah, good evening to you, Chris. At a time like that, football means absolutely nothing, does it? And I send my best wishes to Liam Manning and his family as well. Terrible news, and we wish them all the very best, of course, at what is a traumatic time. So, a very sad news indeed. And what can you say at moments like that? But football is of nothing at that point. So we wish them well.
It comes secondary, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yes,
we do.
Right.
A bit of news and some help we need from people. Just do the memorabilia sale, Vic, first. We're looking to do a memorabilia and programme sale later. Well, it's going to probably be the 8th of December at the County Ground. So if anybody is a programme collector that would like to attain the event, just please let us know. We'll have more details nearer the time, which we will communicate out. Okay, so it's possibly the 8th of December, and if anybody knows anybody, please let them know to contact us or let us know to contact them. And it will be memorabilia and programmes, so just in time for Christmas. So that should be good. Sorry, Vic, I interrupted you at the beginning.
No, that's all right. I was just going to say well done to STFC women who had a 10-1 away win at AFC Stoneham in the Adobe WFA Cup. They'll now be away at Gwalia United in the first round proper. That's on Sunday, November the 3rd. And a hat-trick included in that 10 goals for Annie Colston, the goal machine, really. She's always on target every week, isn't she? So 10-1 win. They're now away at Gwalia United in the first round. In the Youth Alliance Cup, well done to Swindon Town's under-18s. They made it 3 wins out of 3, a 3-1 victory over Forest Green. Miles Abodo, who came on against Bristol Rovers last week, didn't he? Liam Hutt and Gwen and Owen Poy on target in the 3-1 victory. And at SAS Travel, there are still seats available for Salford on the 22nd of October. Leaves the county ground at 1 o'clock. Members £28, non-members £30, and MK Dons, they leave the county ground on at 11 o'clock. Members £19, non-members £21. That's later in November. I forgot to write the date down. Anyway, yes, MK Dons, they're available now. Leaving the county ground at 11 o'clock. Members 19, non 21. So there you are. That's the SAS news for you.
And the tickets for Milton King Dons go on sale tomorrow morning. And it's 9th of November, I believe it is. So.
Yeah. The week after the FA Cup, which we'll find out about, hopefully, before much longer. Yes.
Okay, should we bring the panel on?
Yes, why not?
So we have got Rob.
Evening all.
Evening.
We've got Jason.
Hi.
Evening, Jason.
We've got Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
And we've got Liam.
Hi,
Liam. Right, shall we do the important stuff first, Chris? Because John Stevens from Oop North, who is a friend of many of us, wrote in last week and said this. Backgrounds. Mark Merriman, 7 out of 10, nice domestic background. Rob, 1 out of 10, no effort, buy a picture. Anna, 6 out of 10, nice radiator and bit of art. Andrew, 2 out of 10, little effort, is calendar in date. Sam Morshead got 2 out of 10, makes Rob's room look exciting, which I know Rob has issue with, which we'll get to in a second. Paul Bodin. Now, how you can mark down a Swindon Town legend, I'm not really sure. But anyway, 3 out of 10, very basic, mono style. Modesty forbids me to say 9 out of 10, good effort. I can't say who that is, but so you will be marked up every week on your background. Chris will be doing that as we go along. So well done, Chris. You can take the blame for it.
Right.
But Mr. Hawes has at least made an effort today with a Castrol GTX away shirt behind him, which is rather good.
Yeah.
Yes,
Peter
which I-
Thorne shirt. That's
exactly.
the
Which
right
I'd love to claim I can fit into it, and I might be able to, but I'm not prepared to risk it on the street.
Whereas Liam has gone bonkers with books, DVDs, and lots of other stuff. So
No, it's only books. One side is XTC and Swindon Town. The other side is psychology for Mrs. Scanlon. So
Right.
I'm sure they merge at times.
So yes,
well, there is a psychology to
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably.
yeah. Has she worked out your? Has she worked out why on earth you're continuing to watch Swindon Town at times? Is that come into a psychology of it?
Yeah, her senses are working overtime.
There we go. Very good.
Did that.
Yeah. Jason, I think what's that behind you? Is that some sort of police thing?
It is. That's my little souvenir they gave me to make sure I left the door and get left out the building. But it's bland, but it's marginally better than Rob still.
Yeah. Well,
Hey, look, there's 100% improvement this week. I've got a
It is.
light switch.
From half an hour
and a
ago.
door. What more can you ask?
well, Mr. Stevens may well be marking, so we'll do that as we go
Well,
along.
I fully expect John to say something along the lines of, Jason's far less interesting than mine. Rob gets a 1, Jason gets a 7. That's usually the way it works.
I've got an autograph ball there. It's autograph Swindon ball.
Oh, that's very good. Yeah, because the Sam Moore's mark did irritate you and still does. Does it not?
The mark doesn't irritate me. It's my mark that irritates me, on the basis that if Sam's had a far less interesting background than mine, I get 1, he gets 2. Please explain. Perhaps it's part of the process, because that seems to be the word these days.
Process is the word, yeah. Oh,
Yes.
and Mr. Hawes has got a very nice coffee mug, so that's in his favour. Well done. Right, there we are. Excellent. And on the sofa mug too, it's appeared. Marvellous. Okay, should we get on? And we're still trying to fill time before the FA Cup draw goes on. That's what
I'll
it is.
see you later.
See you later, Chris. Thank you very much indeed. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us at short notice. But an interesting week, I think it's fair to say. 2 local derby wins, which is incredible. Rob, let's start off with Bristol Rovers last Tuesday.
Oh, how can you start me with Bristol Rovers?
Let's build up to the first one in 10 games. Yeah, Bristol Rovers last Tuesday, and I think most of us came away thinking, boy, we've got some good academy players at the town, haven't we?
Yeah, it was a fabulous performance. I have to say, I don't think there's anybody who was there that night who would say anything different. I mean, bearing in mind the Bristol Rovers squad was reasonably strong. It wasn't a weak set of kids out there. It was a reasonably strong squad, and we came out and blitzed them, didn't we? It was absolutely fabulous football. It was front foot football, which is what we've been calling for. There was a lovely set of link-up plays, literally on both sides of the pitch. It was lovely to see. We'd been starved of entertainment value, as we've mentioned so often over the course of the last few weeks, and that was a performance in the first half that literally blew us apart. We just couldn't quite believe what we were watching. And as I say, an absolute pleasure to be there on that Tuesday night. It's very rare I've ever said that about the EFL trophy.
Yeah, and of course they've got Tottenham under 21s on the 5th of November, I think, haven't they?
Yeah.
Jason, were you there last Tuesday?
No, but I was watching.
And what did you think?
Yeah, well, clinical finishing, which was key. You know, we took our chances when they presented it. And they look good, and there's some depth as well. You know, the players that came in gave the manager a headache for Saturday to pick his team, which is what he wanted. I don't know where we sit in that mini league now. Are we potentially second? Can we?
Second, yeah.
So a win potentially against the Spurs team, and we're progressing. It's just about winning, and winning gets confidence, and with that comes the points. So yeah, very happy.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, to commentate on Mr. Hawes, it must have been, well, it was almost reminiscent of Newport, wasn't it? We seem to have a habit, if we win, we go 4 goals up early on and blitz teams. And I think it felt like football with a handbrake off. How did it feel with you?
Yeah, no, it was nice, wasn't it? I think the injection perhaps of a bit of youth helped. Because if you think about the first goal, I think literally Amin's first touch of the entire game is to, win the ball, set up McGurk. McGurk plays in Glatzel, bang, 1-0 after 2 minutes, and then I wouldn't say the atmosphere was lifted, because obviously the atmosphere was pretty finite, but yeah, it did have that kind of energy about it that certainly been lacking. And like Rob said, although it wasn't the first choice Bristol Rovers side by any means, there were, the players they all had in there would be expected at least to fill in the first team and be a part of their squad if there's any injury depth. So they weren't sort of, with one exception, 17 or 18, they were sort of relatively seasoned pros. So to kind of put them away like that was quite encouraging.
And I heard a bit what Dave Hockaday said afterwards. He was very impressed, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah, no, Dave obviously has an eye on developing players. That's his thing. So I think the youngsters did kind of catch his eye, and they sort of back that up on Saturday. We'll come on to that just yet, I assume.
We will. We'll talk about Joel McGregor, Liam, at great length, I think, after Saturday's performance. But it's great to see these young players coming through, because, young players from your own academy, that's a great thing to see, isn't it?
First point, though, have we scored in the town end yet?
No, still haven't, no.
So the 8 goals have all been at the other end?
Yes, they have, yes. The opposition have scored at the town end, obviously, but we haven't, no.
Because the Notts County goal was the Stratton Bank as well, wasn't it? So
yes.
Well, we are going to talk about it later on, because I live in Cheltenham. So can we talk about later on? Lots, please. We had 3 youngsters at one point, didn't we, at the end of the game on Saturday, which was brilliant, wasn't it? Because we had Minton, Amin, and McGregor. So that was great to see on Saturday. Not quite Bert's Babes yet, but it's getting that way, isn't it? So it's good stuff. I'm too young for Bert's Babes, by the way, Vic. Just thought.
Thanks for reminding me. That's very kind.
We probably remembers them all.
Yeah, I was just thinking, actually, we're talking about the FA Cup. They still haven't started, by the way. They're still blathering on. You're talking of the FA Cup. I think I'm the only one here old enough to remember us playing the quarter-final against Leeds, which was a sobering thought for me a little while ago when I was thinking
1970,
about 1970.
I remember that.
Yeah, 1970, yes. Yeah, we actually got to the 6th round of the FA Cup, would you believe? Extraordinary times. Rob, what impressed you about Tuesday night? I mean, the weather was filthy, wasn't it? It was a disgusting night. And the football at times was spectacular, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, you're right. It was a filthy night. And I dare say, as an opposition player, if you go 2 or 3 goals down, you lose a bit of heart for it. So I think that probably helped us a little bit once we got off to such a flying start. But it was the real... I suppose the expectation level was at a very, very low base on what we'd seen over recent weeks, and they just surprised us with the way that we played. It was very much front foot, get it wide, move the ball quickly, which we've all been calling for. Move the ball much, much quicker. We had a very solid protection in the centre of that midfield. I've been calling for off the ball since the start of the season.
Yeah,
I still can't understand why on earth he's not played all games this season. I'll keep on banging that drum, especially after the performance at Cheltenham. Off the ball for me is one of the first names on the team sheet. But irrespective of that, Kilkenny had license then to pass the ball in that first half, and he passed them to death. He used McGurk really well. McGurk in the 10 role looked to be a real plus point. Kane's delivery, outstanding on a couple of occasions. And that second goal, the Glatzel's first time finish on the volley and the move that led to that.
Oh, that's fabulous. Yeah, it was.
It was one of the best goals I've seen at the county ground for a long time, I have to say. It belied being in a team that was playing in the league stages of the EFL trophy. Just point out league stages again, Vic, rather than cup tie.
Cheltenham are away to Rotherham, by the way, in the FA Cup. So
as they deserve to be.
Yeah.
So I say defensively as well. Let's be honest. I mean, they had a couple of chances second half, Bristol Rovers, didn't they? Really, but generally speaking, Freckleton was as solid as he'd been this season so far, and the 2 alongside him, outstanding. Sobowale for me at the moment is still our player of the season. He's been the most consistent player by far for me, and again followed up that performance on Tuesday night with another solid one on Saturday.
Yeah, I did. Jason, what impressed you about the young players? We will get onto the Cheltenham game in a minute, because you know, you think with McGregor, you've got a player, haven't you?
You have, and hopefully, like you say, we can bring him on even better. Obviously, there'll be clubs looking at him, of course, and there'll be the fear of January, and will we let him go for a big fee and a sell-on and what have you? We don't know that, but there's a couple coming through. The other lad that took his goal well from the corner, and again when he came on at Cheltenham Saturday, they don't look out of place,
No.
which is good, and they look fit and they look really good. So I'm really impressed.
My wife is getting rather excited thinking we were away at Carlisle, but it's Wigan who are away at Carlisle. Don't panic, it's fine. We haven't got Exeter City away either. I think I can't remember who got them, but anyway, it's not us. We're still waiting for Swindon to come out, so there we are. I mean, the academy, Andrew, they are producing, aren't they? They've lost Alex Pike now. He's gone off to Brentford, but they are producing. There's no question about that.
Yeah, it is starting to kind of tick over just a little bit, isn't it? There are some good signs out there. Sort of Harrison Minton a couple of years ago, and now, and Holly Hunter's been and gone. We barely knew ye, but he's being involved in and around the first team squad at Middlesbrough already, which is a really good sign. So yeah, it does feel like there is starting to be a little bit of a production line there, and that's overdue. And I think to be fair to previous incarnations of the academy, if any Premier League side fancied one of our players about 14 or 15, then off they went. Who was it? Was it Marcus Eiffel, I think, who went to Brighton as a youngster? So we saw a tiny bit of Will Randall, and then he got sold on to Wolves and so on and so forth. So it would be nice. It would be nice to have them around a bit. But I suspect if there are good offers, then they'll be hard to refuse. But it's lovely. It is lovely to see that pipeline finally sort of yielding something for the first team as well.
You'll be glad to know we won't be playing Aldershot this season because they're away at Bradford City. So that one's okay. We've got away with that, so that's fine. Still waiting for Swindon to come out the hat or the drum as they do now. Liam, we might as well start off with Cheltenham then. We might as well get into that now. 5,561 were there. 1,500 from Swindon, which was a remarkable turnout. It was a local derby, clearly, but a great atmosphere and what turned out to be a good result. We'll get into the meat and bones of it, but it was another win.
I guess I guess there was a few also because my next door neighbour's brother-in-law is a Swindon fan, but he couldn't get a ticket, so he went in with the Cheltenham lot down the side. So I guess there's a few that are beyond the 1,500 as well, which was great. That they probably for the first 3 goals had to sit on their hands or whatever, like we all had to do when we were in the opposition ends. No, it was just come on, we've been there 10 times or 9 times previously, plus all the FA Cups since they've been in the league. It's great to have 1 in 10. Absolutely brilliant. And I think I've been to all 10 of them there. And so it was just desperate to get that win. And it was great. It's wonderful. It's just, we've had a good week, haven't we? 2 wins, 2 draws before that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a win, Rob. I know the last, 10 minutes or so were pretty, how can we put this? Yes, that sums it up nicely. But it was a win. Let's kick off with that, shall we?
Well, I've certainly kicked it off many times over the course of the last 48 hours with everybody from Cheltenham that I know, I have to say. But for once, it's me smiling rather than them, and that's a lovely, pleasurable thought. But no, you're right. I mean, there was 3 stages to that game, wasn't it? The first 30 minutes, one of the most dreadfully boring, dull games that I'd seen in a long, long time. It followed on from some of the previous performances. And then all of a sudden, the goal we scored kick-started our game, didn't it? Well, suddenly we looked a very, very good outfit. Scored a goal, got another one from Will Wright as well. And then obviously at the start of the second half, we got Joel McGregor's second in 2 games. And you think, go on then, go and put him to the sword here. We look a real strong quality team again. Something we haven't seen for such a long time. And then those substitutions, I'm sorry, we could have a panel all night talking about.
Well, we'll get to them in a minute. I'll just give you a couple of news from the FA Cup. Bristol Rovers against Weston-super-Mare, tasty little local derby. MK Dons against AFC Wimbledon, another tasty little encounter. Still waiting for Swindon to come out. Forest Green are away at Stockport. So still keep going. Yeah, Jason, you were there, Cheltenham on Saturday. What was the atmosphere like with you?
Oh, it was great. It was a bit like the old days. It was a feel good. You could feel the vibe with the players and the fans. Like you said, we were very tight to the pitch. They knew that we were up for. We demanded a performance from them. They gave it to us, and yeah, it was a great atmosphere. I mean, it was hairy at the end. Yes, I was like Rob. Like the last 10 minutes, I was watching through the fingers. But that's passion. That's how I watched the town. But yeah, good voice. I think everyone went home happy and looking forward to Saturday.
Yeah, we're still waiting for the town to come out. It's an endless process. This first round goes on forever, doesn't it? Mr. Hawes, you were commentating when it was 3-0. What were your thoughts?
I think within reason, it was kind of
43.
Pretty comfortable.
Swindon Town at home against number 17, Colchester United, of course.
Oh, what a classic!
Well, that's a draw, isn't it? We know that straight away. You get the Tuesday night trip going for the replay.
It's always Colchester, isn't it? For some reason. Yes, we'll be at
wake
home.
me up when it's all over.
Yes, indeed. It's at home to Colchester United. Right, we'll come back to Cheltenham in a minute. Let's go around the panel. Andrew, your reaction to that? Colchester United at home.
Well, I was broadly thinking. The thing I quite like for FA Cup, if it happens, which probably makes me unusual, is I quite like going away to somewhere different, whether it's above us in the pyramid or below. So we're at home to a team that we know all too well, both in terms of playing them a lot, and I guess in terms of half the squad with Payne, Iandolo, Hunton, and all the rest of it. So yeah, you get what you get, but I don't think we need to worry about that one getting moved for TV, do you?
I don't think so. Liam, what are your thoughts?
Thinking exactly the same as you, Andrew. It won't get moved for TV, and it won't even be a big crowd either. So it's hardly Birmingham or Wrexham, let's say. Yeah. Well, let's try and get into the second round this year. That'll be good.
Oh, don't say things like that. It's a shock. I can't take it.
I walk under ladders, all that sort of stuff. It's uninspiring, isn't it? It won't be on TV, will it? We know that'll be MK Dons versus Real Dons. We know that'll be Bristol Rovers versus Western. And, of course, it'll be Wrexham because they'll want the American viewers.
Yeah, they haven't come out yet, actually. Wrexham against Birmingham would be tasty tie, wouldn't it? That would be quite a nice one.
Can I just add one thing to the Cheltenham thing? There was at one point towards the end of the game, I thought we were playing a 7-1-2 formation, really. And 7,
Liam. It felt a bit more like 9-0-1 to me.
But we managed to hold out in the end, didn't we? I don't know what we were panicking for, Rob and Jason.
No. Right, Taunton or Maidenhead will play Crawley. Well, that's a nice little draw if Taunton managed to get through that one. Rob, what are your thoughts on Colchester? It's always Colchester in one way or another. We play them twice in a couple of weeks, don't we?
I was just about to say. I mean, we've got the league game there at the second week of December or first week of December on a Tuesday night. You just know that's going to be a draw at home, don't you? It's absolutely written in the stars that we're going to Colchester on a Tuesday twice in 3 weeks. It's just inevitable. Andrew summed it up pretty well, really. It's a team we know extremely well. It's a team we seem to play at least 2 times a season, every season, and usually more than that because we draw them so often in some of the cup competitions. So it was the League Cup last, wasn't it? And we lost down there. So we're due to win a cup tie against Colchester, but then we're due to win a cup tie against virtually every team we play, aren't we? Because we very rarely ever win a cup tie. So let's be honest, it would be lovely, as Liam said, to get into the second round and have another draw again. But we all pretty much know that second round FA Cup day is Christmas shopping day, isn't it, really?
That's what it's known as. Harrogate will host Wrexham, by the way. That one's come out as well. Jason, Colchester at home, at least it's a home draw. I assume tickets will be relatively cheap to try and attract people.
I mean, you normally say with a home game that you'll make a bit of money potentially. I don't know whether we'll make much money out of that game. The attendance hopefully might be picking up by then. We might be on a bit of a roll. Our home form improving. I mean, Colchester, like you say, Rob, we've got to play them again in January as well. I think it's
New Year's Day. Yeah.
So
so 3 times in 3 months.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
At the moment, could be 4.
So let's just hope we get the result and we don't take them back there for a replay. So fingers crossed.
You know, if
Birmingham
we get through in the EFL Trophy, by the way, who we're going to get in the next round, don't you?
Colchester.
Colchester.
Birmingham against Sutton, by the way. Sutton, I think, host to Birmingham. So there we are. Right, let's go back now. We know Swindon will be playing Colchester in the first round of the FA Cup. That's done. I've no doubt ticket details will be released shortly because it's in a couple of weeks' time, isn't it? So I would imagine they'll get those ticket details out pretty quickly. Tim says, XTC, great taste, Liam. Well done for that. Liam says, anyone on the panel playing EFL fantasy football? If so, how are they getting on their mini leagues?
That's just... Is that my boy?
Might be.
Is he taking the mick out of me because for the first time in 8 weeks, he's actually gone above me this weekend?
Might be then in that case,
Yeah.
yes. Matthew says, back-to-back wins. Great. Scott says... Evening panel, great win on Saturday. Thoughts on Kennedy's substitutions? We'll get to that in just a second. Darren says, I bet we'll get top of the league conference. Well, we won't. We've got Colchester. And Claire says, poor decision to make a substitution whilst defending a set piece on Saturday. Right. 3-0 up. First of all, before we get to the substitutions, Joel McGregor, Rob. Now, he and Offerball to me, outstanding player. Subawali had a great game. McGregor, though, looks a bit special, doesn't he?
He does, and I think it's one of those real feathers in the cap for the academy, I have to say. He obviously what happened towards the back end of last season, bringing in Harley Hunt and Joel McGregor, gave everybody that little bit of a lift towards the end of the season with very little to play for, because you could see that the academy was bringing through players ready for the first team. And that's been a long time in coming. We may have had the odd player burst through, but quite often they're not really ready for regular first team football. They may play one game and not really be seen again and then go off on loan somewhere else. All of a sudden, with Minturn before him and now McGregor as well, you can see the real prospects getting their opportunity to flourish in the first team. And with Amin coming on as well on Saturday, you know there's a striker there as well. He's a bit green at the moment. He needs a few more first team outings, and off the bench would be the way to do that, I think, whilst he's coming up against tired defenders. But McGregor, I think he's an exceptional talent, I have to say. Probably as good a talent as we've produced from the youth team for a long time. And I look at I suppose it's one of those things in it, left backs, you don't really get big clubs that interested so quickly in left backs. Centre backs, centre forwards, totally different. You get you can see the real plus points straight away there. But with a left back, you might get a little bit more leeway with keeping them in your first team. Long may it continue for us, because I think McGregor, right back as well, let any of those fullback positions, right back, I think he could make it his own, I have to say. Jeff King obviously has had a really sad situation happen in his own personal life at the moment, which we all wish him the best. But he's going to have a real fight on his hands to take that place away from Joel McGregor now, I think. Definitely,
Jason. I mean, you mentioned earlier about how January might be an interesting time with Joel McGregor. But one thing that really impresses me, he's not a big chap, is he? But there's no shirking the physical tackles.
Yeah, that's right. And I don't know what Flynn said about him. He was complimentary, wasn't he? Does anyone sort of quote what he said?
I heard what he said, no.
I mean, so he's obviously, like I say, he's certainly standing out now. And it will be interesting to see how Kennedy handles him. Will he play him week in, week out? Will he think, no, I've got to take him out, have a rest? There's always that possibility he does that, and then he risks that backfiring big style. So it'd be very interesting. Hopefully, bar injury, that place is his if he keeps those performances up.
He's got a really great leap on him, Vic, as well. That was what really surprised me on Saturday.
Yeah.
Because they were trying those long balls quite often towards him, because I can't remember who it was up against him, but he had 3 or 4 inches certainly on Joel McGregor, if not more than that. And McGregor won most of the headers that came his way. I thought his spring was outstanding.
Because we saw him, he was quite close to us, wasn't he? So you could actually watch his game quite closely. It's interesting, isn't it, Andrew, that he's come in and he's immediately like the prospect that we've been wanting for a long time. The Extra have seen quite a few of these, but he comes in and he stands out. And the thing that impresses me is the physical presence, bearing in mind he's a slight chap. But what have you noticed about him?
Yeah, no, I think that was one of the points that you might not have, or things you might not have been sure about them until you saw him on Saturday how he really sort of handled the physical stuff. But then I think he did pretty well against Omari Patrick, who's a fairly big and mobile unit up at Tranmere, which was a good start. And then as Rob said, they were kind of pinging over those high balls to him. Mike Flynn were basically sort of said were kind of, praising his desire and praising the fact that he was prepared to do all that stuff and was able to kind of win the ball in the air and so on. So it does really feel like that position is already his to lose. I want to, what did they say? Scenes, wasn't it? After the third goal.
Yes.
And
yeah,
I've just realised one more thing. We don't have cup replays anymore, do we? So we won't have to go back to Colchester.
No,
joy.
Peter Marsh has said that very point. He said FA Cup replays have been scrapped. So there were replays up
in the first and second round, but is that gone this season, is it?
Yeah, that's
because it's all up to the qualifying rounds. There are replays, aren't they? And then you get to the first round proper, then there aren't. So
yeah, they got rid of replays in the first and second rounds to help the Premier League, didn't they?
Because
that makes sense.
That was the logic. that was the logic. I think it was last season as well, wasn't it? But we didn't draw with all the shots, did we?
No.
So are we straight to penalties or extra time?
I think, but I think it might be extra time and pens, but I'm not sure.
Great.
There will certainly be pens if necessary. So
yeah. Another thing we should mention, Liam, about Joel McGregor, he's got 2 goals in 2 games.
Yeah. You're right. I saw him at the Tranmere game when he came on for Jeff King, and he was very, very special. But he was quiet against Harrogate because everything was on the other side, wasn't it? It was all going via Cox on the other side, wasn't it? And so he had a quiet game. And what is he, 18, 19?
18,
18. He's going to have quiet games. He's learning. He's learning and developing. And we need to have some patience with him and not just keep dropping him and changing him. I think he needs that sustained time. And 2 good goals, actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
On both games, really. I mean, the goal against Rovers was a cracking goal as well from just outside the box, wasn't it? That came from a set piece, wasn't it? We're getting a few set piece goals this season as well. So I think it's terrific. I think he's excellent, and let's get him signed on a decent contract, and let's not try and get rid of him in January, Mr. Morfuni et al. Let's try and keep him.
I think he's terrific. It's one of those players you come away thinking, "Yep, we got one for the future there." And we haven't had that many that we've kept for a long time, have we? If you think back, how many players have we had in the last few years that we've kept, and they've gone on to do well for the town? So it'd be really nice to keep him, wouldn't it?
Well, I was going to mention about Amin later on, and he just reminds me of a young rideout because he's strong. He's 17, isn't he? And he's really strong and developed. And there's a man there already, and that's what Paul Rideout was like. And of course, he went when he was young as well.
Yes, he did. Kevin said he has fire in his belly and won 17 headers, something like that. Would love to see more of Glatzel and Amin together. Remember Joel's run that led to the free kick that led to Wright's goal, says Nick. And Andy says we've played Colchester 4 times in 74 years in cup competitions, 3 times in the last 14 years. Because we played them, I think, Robin, under Di Canio, didn't we? We won there, I think, when Di Canio was manager. If I remember rightly, that was in the first or second round. I can't remember. Then we got Wigan and the
Supermarine played him in the first round. Did we play him in the second round? Something like that.
Something like that. And then we got through to play Wigan, didn't we? And then knocked them out of the competition. Just don't understand why it took so long to pick him. He was good last season. And I think if you think back to Grimsby away, Rob, when Harley Hunt and him were playing in that team, neither of them looked out of place, did they?
No, it's what I say. That he's got the advantage, I guess, if you call it an advantage, of having that little bit of input into the first team towards the back end of last season. Let's say he didn't play many games, but he did have a few minutes, and obviously that Grimsby game they both played together. So it wasn't a new thing for him. It didn't come as a great surprise for him to find his way into the first team, but. You, as a young player, the one thing that you ask of them is that you do all the things that you've been told and that you've shown whilst you've been at youth level when you step it up to the first team. And sometimes that jump is too big for players, isn't it? Sometimes they just freeze on the occasion and they don't take the opportunity when it comes their way. Joel McGregor, he looks like he's been there for years. That's the best compliment you can give to him so far.
Yeah,
I think he doesn't look like he's a new youngster just coming in through the ranks. He looks like he's developed in a way that he understands the role. He understands exactly what's expected of him. And as was rightly pointed out a few minutes ago, some of those runs that he's been on since he's been in the first team, you think, my God, I can't believe he's running virtually the length of the pitch here, taking on player after player after player. It happened at Tranmere. He almost got a goal in the second half at Tranmere because he literally went from right fullback position to the edge of the penalty area.
He came. I was just after he'd come on, wasn't it?
Yeah. And it's becoming a bit of a trademark, to be honest. There's at least one run every game where he virtually takes the entire team on, and we haven't seen that kind of ability, let's say, from a youngster in Swindon colours for such a long time, and it's a breath of fresh air.
Certainly is. Right. Credit to the academy, because I think they've done a magnificent job, and bearing in mind their FA Youth Cup run of last season and the players that are coming through, hats off. Take your hat off for a moment, Mr. Halls, if you could, to the academy. Brilliant. Well done. Jason, let's get into the meat and bones of this Cheltenham thing then. 3-0 up, playing some lovely football, totally in control, and then substitutions. What are your views?
Yeah. So I'm just looking at who he took off initially. I mean, let's give a shout out, I think, to the club captain, Clark.
Yeah,
came back in.
Game.
I thought he had a great game.
Yeah.
I thought he's obviously communicated in there and got things organised. Him and Afflerball together look good.
Yeah.
As did Kilkenny. You ask yourself, Cottrell's coming back. Where does he play? Does he have to stay on the bench? Does he come straight back in? Why should he be dropped? He's probably one of our better players leading up to the international break. Well, the substitution for Clark was fitness, I'd imagine. What did he do? How many? 60 minutes. So he had to come off. He was replaced by Minturn. At that point, what were we? 3-1?
3-0.
3-0.
3-0. Okay, so he's obviously thinking, right, we've got the result. Let's short up a bit. Yeah, it was a bit sort of like someone said earlier, almost like 9 at the back. Let's get Delaney on, Langello on, and hang on in there. I thought with the first goal went in. I mean, I didn't know too much about their goals, whether we were at fault for that or not. I haven't seen them back. But again, yeah, I thought if with that tight edge at the moment, because if that third goal had gone in, we'd all be here saying, oh, he's got to go, or this is that, it's not getting any better. Now we've won. Actually, we're a bit more positive this week. Substitutions, yeah, I don't know. I'm not a football manager. They were a bit more defensive. I thought he sort of shut up shop a bit too early for me.
Yeah, they scored immediately after the first substitution, didn't they, Andrew, if I remember rightly?
They did, yeah.
And they were, none of them were what you call quality goals. I mean, McGregor's was a good hit, but none of them were like, they were messy goals, weren't they, Andrew? I think Cheltenham's first goal came at the far post, didn't it, when they didn't really have any opposition there, but they were all messy goals.
Yeah, no, the 2 goals we conceded were pretty scruffy, and I think I can't remember the exact sequence of play that led to the throw-in. I think the first goal came from, but from what I can remember about it, that was just kind of very loose and a bit sloppy when they'd been kind of ticking over. Okay, I know Cheltenham was sort of starting to cause us some problems down their right, our left, but so they were. I think we're a bit weird defensively because we don't necessarily give up a huge number of chances, but some of the ones we have given up this season, whether it's like the set piece goals at Carlisle or things like that, have been quite some really obvious errors, like Port Vale, the 2 goals at Port Vale as well. So it's a slight sort of quandary. That most of the time we look fine, and then when we don't look fine, we really don't look fine.
No. Yes. Liam, let me put this to you. You don't shore it up by moving your best defender into midfield, especially when you're about to face a set piece. Ridiculous sub, that says Andy. I mean, it literally was. Minton, I think, had just literally got into the middle of the field. He'd literally just taken up his position. Ball was played across, 3-1.
Yeah, I mean, he clearly thought about this when he was going to take Ollie Clark off. Just while I remember it, Andrew, why wasn't Jack Bycroft in the squad on Saturday?
He was unwell apparently, so yeah, nothing more complicated than that. So Evans came in.
It wasn't like we were trying to do a Barrow or something to
No, I didn't think we were trying to be funky. No, not this time.
No. Because if you're gonna take your captain off after 60 minutes, and I agree with what Jason said, and in fact we've all said that Ollie, that's the best performance I've seen Ollie Clark all
by a
season.
long way. Yeah.
I thought he was not only a leader, but he was marshalling, and that there was a real solidity about. We've been a bit lightweight in midfield, haven't we, this season? It's been very nice, very pretty, but actually in this league we need some tough cookies, and that's what we had on Saturday against what was it? Liam Kinsella as a right back, wasn't it? As a wing back. And off the board, didn't he? Got booked, and that was a bit
early on, very early on, he got booked.
Never booking.
And he played
never been booked. It was a perfectly good challenge.
Absolutely. So nice to see Kinsella doing that against us. But I think the problem was you moved your midfield. Because Wright's had a good season. Wright's played really well, marshalling at the back, and Clark goes off, so Wright goes captain. And then you're moving him into out of position. And I think it just exposed us. And the trouble is, this is a Cheltenham team who have scored a lot of late goals this season. They've won, I think every game they've won 2 or 3 games, isn't it? They've scored in the 90th minute to actually win the game. So it was important that we did actually manage to hold them out. But getting a goal soon after just exposed us, really. I was worried about that.
Yeah, I'm going to let you go in a minute, Rob, because I know if I let you go, you'll probably
wind me up, and then set me
off.
off.
I'm just going to give the league positions at the minute. 18th Swindon Town now are played 11 with 11 points, goal difference -3. 21st at Cheltenham now, and on the evidence of Saturday, it could be a real trouble. I think played 11, goal difference of -5, 10 points. Accrington, who won on Saturday, 22nd rather. They've got 9 points from their 10 games played with a goal difference of -7. Then the bottom two, Morecambe, 23rd with 7 points from their 11 games. And then surprisingly, Carlisle, -13 goal difference, 7 points from 11 games. And I don't know about you, Rob, but I am kind of shocked by that, because you would have thought that Carlisle, who might well have been one of the sort of favourites to maybe make a return, but they're really having a struggle, aren't they?
Yeah, well, we've seen it before with Swindon, haven't we? You get on a real negative roll, results have gone against you for a whole season. It's very difficult to work your way out of it. And of course, they didn't have a change of manager over the summer to change things around. They still kept with Simpson in the hope that they would be able to turn it around. And of course, it never happened in the opening few games. They've changed manager now. Whether they pick up or not, they obviously had their new manager lift against us, as is always the way. Yeah. But they seem to have fallen back again since they've played us. And that's what happens with poor teams. And let's be honest, the game against Carlisle was no thrill seeker for anybody watching, was it? It was a dire game. We never performed. They did enough by just being a bit physical and made sure that they won a lot of second balls, and a couple of set pieces did for us. But I don't know. I look at Carlisle and I look at a few teams down there that we've played. Harrogate, poor side. Carlisle, poor side. Cheltenham, poor side. We haven't yet come across Morecambe or Accrington. I'm guessing they're down there both because they're poor sides too. So there is a lot of poor sides towards the bottom end of this division this year. And we hopefully will not find ourselves down there. But if we make substitutions in the way that we made substitutions on Saturday,
I was going to say, I've calmed you down by talking about Carlisle. Accrington, of course, won at Gillingham on Saturday, which is a bizarre result, bearing in mind.
Yeah, that's why Liam's telling me about my EFL. As I put Gillingham as to win on Saturday.
Right. I'm going to give you a minute to talk about substitutes, because any more of that, I'm a bit worried about your blood pressure. So
it's still not come down from Saturday yet, I have to say. But I mean, first and foremost, never make a substitution when he made that first substitution for Ollie Clark. No problem at all. Ollie Clark coming off, as we've just said, best game for a long, long time. Certainly best game for Swindon. And he's obviously needing minutes, so inevitably he was going to come off at some point. Never do it in the position that we were in at the moment, and certainly don't do it by having to move a centre-back into a centre midfield position, a new centre-back going into a set-piece situation. It was asking for trouble, and sure enough, it was delivered straight away afterwards. But the substitution of Offerbore, I'm sorry, that will haunt me forevermore. I totally get the idea that, again, he was beginning to run on empty. There's no doubt about that. He got through 90 minutes on empty at Barrow. I might hasten to add to last season. He could have carried on going. He was the catalyst for that performance on Saturday. He was exceptional for me in that central midfield role for the first 60 minutes. And we totally lost our shape. We totally lost the way that we were playing. We had nobody to win the ball in midfield anymore. And quite frankly, how we survived that last half hour, I have absolutely no idea, because we had no shape to the team at all. Poor old Amin, I felt very sorry for him, to be honest, because he came on to do a man's job at the young, tender age that he is, and he was given absolutely no support to do it for the rest of the game at all. And then you take off Butterworth further on down the line as well, which I sort of understand, but you took off the one player who was actually running at Cheltenham from minute 1 onwards. And we've got no outball. I kept on saying it to you. We've got no outball. There literally was no way that we were going to hold the ball up in that last half hour. So we just basically had to survive. All he did was bring on centre-backs to try and head the ball away. He effectively gave Cheltenham their game plan. I could not understand anything that happened in that last half hour. And as I say, I've said to a few of the Cheltenham people I spoke to, I think we were so lucky to hang on, even though we thoroughly deserved to beat them based on the first 60 minutes. We were so lucky to hang on.
You're right. You went into added time there, but I'll let you
Sorry.
off. The goals came. George Cox on
there, Rob.
Say again.
I was worried about your blood pressure there. I was taking your
blood. It's gone through the roof for about the third time, and I keep talking about it, and it keeps making me more and more angry.
Well, the goals came like this: George Cox on 30, Will Wright on 34, Joel McGregor on 47, and we were cruising at that stage. Then George Miller on 63, Ethan Archer on 78. Now, Jason, that's great. We got a win. We got a win against Newport, and we thought, right, this is it. This changes the fortunes round. The most important game we play now is at home on Saturday against Doncaster, isn't it?
That's it. And, our home form, like you say, apart from Newport and a glimpse against Notts County, perhaps, we've been dire. And, the fans are going to be there. They're going to, of course, they're going to continue this run, and they're going to have to deliver a similar performance, at least for the first, what we saw of 70 minutes of Saturday, against a better side, Doncaster. Let's not, sugarcoat it. It's going to be a tough game. We've got a couple of tough games coming up at home. But like you say, there's momentum. We've had 2 wins and the draw as well. We haven't lost in 4 games. They've got to go in there confident. What team he'll pick, I don't know. Will he stay with the starting 11, or will he bring Cottrell back in? It's going to be, that 2 o'clock when the team sheet comes around, I don't quite know what to expect. Yeah,
it'd be an interesting one, isn't it? Nice choices to have though when you've got players back from injury and you've got those choices to make. I think for any
we've got people like we've got people like Hall, who he disappeared in the squad. Although he did 20 minutes, didn't he, the other Tuesday? So I don't know if that's an injury setback. But Smith, once he gets back to fitness, Dryden, there's a lot of choice. The manager's got a good squad there. We just need to play the right way.
Yeah, Delaney came on, I think, for a few minutes as well, didn't he, Saturday? So, Doncaster second in the table, 20 points from 11 games. They drew with Resurgent Crew on Saturday, 1 each. So, what do you reckon, Andrew? I mean, they are a good side. There's no question about that, because they're second in the table. But that's the sort of team you've got to beat, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I think it does look a step up from the sides we faced recently. I would say so. There'll be a good test. There are some decent players. Billy Sharp's back, so. Among others, so I think it is a step up from what we've kind of had to deal with recently. So let's see if we can take any of this kind of momentum and energy into it, and show we're a bit more than a side whose first objective is to avoid being in the bottom 2. So I was slightly surprised to look and see it is 4 games now without defeat. You've had the draws at Tranmere and Harrogate, and then the 2 wins. So. Momentum is pushing it, but the last week does give us a bit of energy. But I do think it's quite a hard one to come on to. I think if you take something from that and then you go and beat Salford, which is unreasonable given where they are in the table, then you are in quite a nice space. So I'd say at least try and keep that unbeaten run going. I think.
What did Mark Kennedy say to you about the substitutions?
Yeah. basically the long and the short of it is he seems quite guided by the minutes the kind of medical staff recommend players should have when they come back. So he said to me afterwards, Clark was only meant to play 45 minutes, but they felt they wanted to squeeze an hour out of him, so he had to come off. They don't think Offerball is quite good for 90 minutes yet, so from that point of view,
take him off just before stoppage time, then Andrew,
rather
rather than 63.
I'm sometimes I do the reportage. I do not do the analysis. And the other thing he kind of said in terms of perhaps putting Will Wright in rather than bringing on Kane or McGregor was he said it wasn't the sort of game for them. And again, you can argue that one whether you were better off with a bit of a midfield outlet or better off with as many people to head the ball away as possible, given Cheltenham were largely slinging crosses into the box from their right hand side or left. So the broad kind of thing was it was about minutes and it was about physicality. So take it or leave it, but that's the broad explanation, I guess.
That's the explanation. You can only go with the explanation. It's as simple as that. Alexander says, Offerball looks like he wants the club to do well, which what I like in a player. You see him walking around the pitch before the game and after interacting with the fans. He shows passion. And I had a conversation with him after the recent racism seminar that they had at the county ground. And it was just after he was going to go out on loan. He said he really wants to fight for his place at the club. He loves the reaction he's got from the fans. And I have to say, Liam, I love players like Offerball. I love players who do the dirty stuff. You know what I mean? And I don't mean dirty in terms of fouling, but the dirty dog work in the middle of the field. He's the sort of player, dare I mention it, Anthony Grant, is what we got from Anthony Grant. But he's a similar sort of player, isn't he?
Yeah, as I said earlier, you need them in this division, really, don't you, to get out? He's lost weight as well, hasn't he? He's leaned up in the sense of he's clearly down the gym and stuff, because he was clearly overweight when he joined us last year. And I know I've mentioned this before, considering all the heart scares and everything else that he's had in his career so far, it's great that he's rejuvenated or rehabilitated, and we're helping him through that. Can I just mention one thing on Doncaster while I remember? They should have gone up last season. Let's not forget that. They were the form team, weren't they? And somehow Crawley snuck through, didn't they? And knocked them out in the semis, didn't they? Before they beat MK Dons in the final. And with Grant McCann, they've got a really good manager. This is going to be the 5th team in the top 6 we've played now. If you look around, I think it's only Gillingham that we haven't played yet of the top 6. So, and we haven't got a great record against the 4 that we played so far. So this is a really tough game, and we need to get behind them all on Saturday. Really get behind them.
Yeah. And then on Tuesday, of course, it's Salford away. Salford 16th, 12 points from 10 games. They lost 2-1 to Grimsby on Saturday. So it's a game that you'd go to, Rob, and think there's something there for us. I hate to say it, but we got a reasonably good record there, if I'm right in saying it. We haven't. I don't want to use the word.
Don't use it.
No, I won't. But you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, you're right. We've got a good record there, and I did see that Carl Robinson had a bit of a spat with the referee at the weekend for not having a penalty. Not something that is new to Carl Robinson. I think he's done that virtually every time in a game that either we've played against them or games just preceding it or afterwards. So he's always got a beef in his bonnet against somebody. But you're right. Salford, no support. We know that. They've got no history. They've got no support. They've just got wealthy backers who try to bring in players who so far just have not got Salford anywhere further up the pyramid. And I'm sure they're really the good old Manchester United connection we're expecting to be somewhere near the Championship by now. But that's not going to happen. Salford are simply not big enough for that. And when you go there, you realise quite how primitive the surroundings are, and it's not really a ground ready for league football. So it is an opportunity. It's a real opportunity. If Doncaster, as Liam just mentioned, they're as good a side as there's going to be at this level. I think now they've built well off the back of last season. They've not really set the league on fire this year yet. I was expecting them to really start putting teams away quite consistently after they got a very good opening weekend result. They've not been quite so consistent since. So hopefully we can take a bit more encouragement from that and try and get ourselves a result. But if we do, we've got a real opportunity of making it back-to-back away wins itself, because I really don't think they're very good at all. They'll be one of those teams towards the bottom of the league, I think.
Doncaster first, of course, on Saturday. Hi, Peter. Team spirit was fantastic among the players. Offerball was really extrovert throughout. I think he had a bit of fun with the Cheltenham fans at one point as well, didn't he? Home crowd need to be the 12th man, more than ever Saturday, to keep the momentum going. And we're still like Dracula at the back, don't like crosses, his dad. Colchester also have a terrible first-round success rate. It'll be interesting, says Sean. And don't forget, of course, as we said earlier in the programme, it's Colchester United at home in the first round of the FA Cup. Hard to believe we've only lost one game more than a fair few at the top end, despite our form. And that's interesting, isn't it, Jason? I mean, we all think we've had a terrible season, but actually in terms of defeats, it's been home defeats, really, which have done the damage.
That's right. I think form-wise, I think we come 7th on away form, I think, in the league, and 22nd, I think it was, on home form. But you look at the league table, and after the win Saturday, I started to look at it again. And it's okay. Let's take the negatives out. We're 4 points from the bottom, but we're 10 points from automatic, which is nothing. There's no team yet that's going on a run and going away with it. Everyone seems to be beating each other. So it's still wide open. Yes, if only we put a couple of wins together, we would have been probably on the edge of the playoffs by now. But it's still early. And I'm still confident that it's gonna work. I've got to be. We've got the players, and I'm excited because we've won, and it gives you a buzz. It gives you a lift for the week, doesn't it?
Well, it's certainly better than what we've had recently, isn't it? So, it was one of those strange ones. I don't know about you, Jason, but I came away thinking we won it, but it was a weird one, wasn't it? If we won 3-0, we'd have all been delighted, wouldn't we?
Well, I was like 3-0. I was thinking, that's going to be good for the goal difference. And then, of course, we then shipped 2, and you think then we're hanging on. But yeah, it was a funny game. But I think, like you said, overall, we did deserve the win, and that's important to take back. We did play the better team over 90 minutes. I think we were the better team.
Yes, good football at times. When we got the third goal, we started to play some really nice stuff. So, let's get optimistic about that. Peter says, painful draw. Have to hunt around for a win. I and Alo don't know how it'll turn out, and don't know how many will egg bow. Very clever. Yes. Winces all around, but very good. Well done, Peter. That's because any team in this league is capable of beating any other. Many lower clubs have beaten higher so far. Andy, thanks very much indeed for that. So then, Mr. Hawes, let's go around the panel. We've got 3 games following on from Salford, of course. We've got the Gills coming. They're in 5th at the minute. They lost at home to Accrington, surprisingly, on Saturday. 3 games coming up. What are we getting out of those 3 games?
What are we getting out of those? Let's be optimistic, because I just had a look, and for all the fact we think they are a good time and a good side, everything suggests they are. They've lost at Harrogate and Newport so far. So, and given we've seen those 2, that gives you a bit of a renewed hope. So, let's say 2 home draws and a win at Salford, who do seem to be struggling. So let's go for 5 points from 3, like we've done with the last 3.
Excellent, Liam.
Well, I'm going to miss Salford because I've sadly got to see Barcelona versus Bayern Munich.
Don't come to us with your problems. We'd rather be at Salford.
7 points. Win at Salford. And 1 win at Gillingham and Doncaster, and a draw.
Oh, very good. Rob?
Well, I'll go for 9 as normal, Vic. But realistically, I think we'll do very well to get anything Saturday. I think we might get beat and lose a bit of gloss, unfortunately. But I think we will win at Salford. And Gillingham, that's a toss-up, because I think they're out of form at the minute. I think they're struggling. So if we've won at Salford, I think we'll beat Gillingham. So I'll go for 6.
Okay, Jason?
Yeah, I might go for 6. I go for 2 wins and a loss. Where they come from, I don't know, but I'm quite positive.
Well, that is positive, isn't it? That pushes up the table a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying anything on the chair. I don't have to, so that's fair enough, isn't it? Thank you all very much indeed. The Colchester game will be the first weekend in November, Andrew. That's right, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. And like I said, I think we can assume the Saturday somehow.
Yes, and I assume ticket arrangements will be released tomorrow, I suspect, because they'll have to get them sorted pretty quick. But anyway, Swindon against Colchester in the first round of the FA Cup. Don't forget, Fools Rush In will be with you at 9 o'clock. Thank you very much indeed for a hasty arranged panel. We really appreciate your time. Chris?
Yeah. Yeah, I echo that, Vic. Thank you very much all for stepping in at the last minute. It's much appreciated. And we have a bit of a different on the sofa this week, Friday morning at 9 o'clock. It's Wayne O'Sullivan over in Australia. So if anybody is around to watch it, it will be going out live. But of course, it's also recorded so people can catch up with it afterwards. But we will be here at 9, bright and early, 9 o'clock on Friday morning with Wayne O'Sullivan. So
Brilliant.
And then we'll be back on Monday night with the panel following the Doncaster game. So we will see you then if we don't see you Friday. So thanks everybody for watching. Thanks panel, and we will see you soon.